Drifting in and out of the resonant frequency of the collective unconscious of the Underhive, we are Vox Free Innsmouth 665.66 UHM Campaign Radio, bringing you the truth of the sump, whether you like it or not.
Speaking of the sump, you might want to be a little careful. With all these hive quakes, you might end up in the sump.
Some nuggets.
On special this week.
Down at Joe's Sump Shack. At least we're nice and fine, though, up here on Sublevel 8 at the Carassus Weapon Manufactorum, picking up a few crates of supplies that fell off the back of a truck. Beast, tell us, how do you find these tips?
Well, usually I just like to grab it and run.
Well, you know, Gobbo, we might need to pack a little more heat this time with all these arson attacks tearing across the mid-hives. The scuttlebutt around the underhive is that House Necromancia is investing in some of the burned-out properties.
Ah, a little arson in the morning goes a long way. As always, I am your neon-crusted axe aficionado, Goblin King. Joining me is your co-pilot, the maniac of Sublevel 999 himself, Marky.
It gets real dark down there.
Never one to turn down a good deal, especially when it comes to discounted firearms, is our very own demolition expert, Beast.
Listen, finding is as good as taking.
Yeah, it's called tactical
recovery.
It's called theft. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Beast got that 5-finger discount.
It's at 10 toes.
Joining us for the first time as we ply the endless insanity of the Underhive is our special guest, the chain axe maestro himself, Chuckerfly.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
How you doing?
Don't ask him how he got the
Don't
chain
ask
axe.
him how he got there.
Don't ask me.
Don't ax him.
Don't ask him any questions.
Let me ask somebody.
Wow.
Do I need to ask somebody?
Wow.
No, Chucky. Ask.
Okay.
You can't even say it properly
Axe.
now.
Okay, but
Don't
say it
ask.
properly.
Just ask.
Asks. It's a lot of, there's only one S.
This is episode 2 of our campaign series. So in this episode, we're going to spend some time going over some campaigns that we played in the past and what we really liked about them. And we will be back with the conclusion of this series talking about the campaign that we are designing. Probably the 2 campaigns we're designing, or the 2-pronged campaign, I guess.
Remains to be seen.
We'll get into more of that as we move along. However, we wanted to take a couple of minutes to put Chuckerfly in the hot seat. So tell us, when did you start playing? What armies do you play? What drove you to the insanity that is this hobby?
What drove you to the insanity that is this group?
Yeah, what
That
it,
is this
a
group.
picture.
what it do?
Yeah.
How would it
How
even
home-
be? How it even be?
How it even be? What it do?
Yeah, basically, I started back with Warhammer Fantasy back at
Hell
literally the tail end, I think, of 3rd edition.
Is that Age of Sigmar?
No.
What fantasy?
The
What,
audacity.
what's
How dare
what's
you?
fantasy?
How dare you?
Dare you.
That's Age of Sigmar, right?
No, it's not Age of Sigmar.
Late 3rd
That's where your
edition
Blood Bowl comes
40k would be 7th edition Fantasy Battle. Because 8th edition Fantasy Battle was End Times and then it was Age.
Yeah. So I started back at the end of like 3rd, beginning of 4th. I was actually playing with buddies in like a big giant game, and I didn't know I had a new army book that came out. So I basically got my ass handed to me.
It happens.
So my cousin basically got me into this, and then I started playing the 40k.
Do you hate him?
No, I don't. I actually love him.
Wow.
Appreciate the fact that he made me.
Oh
start
no, that he
doing
did this to you? You
Yeah.
appreciate it? Oh
Yeah,
my
I actually
god.
appreciate it.
That's a stage 1 of an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
So you started in late 3rd edition of Fantasy Battle.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's
So
what it was.
like not early 90s ish.
Oh, maybe no. I started in like 96, 97. So maybe it was like 4th edition into 5th. It was a long time ago.
That's
Yeah.
like 2nd, 3rd, 40k, right? Second.
Well, 40k I didn't start till 4th.
1996 was 2nd edition 40k.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I didn't start 40k till mid like 4th or after 4th had come out.
Did you know about 40k when you started fantasy?
Yeah, I knew about it, but I was drawn more to the fantasy.
Yeah.
I like fantasy more.
Yeah, D&D and whatnot, right?
Yeah, so I was drawn into that, and then when I started playing 40k, I started with Demon Hunters.
Oh,
Nice.
they had a little paperback supplement book, yeah.
So I have a army that stands up in the wind when you're in a tournament, and everybody else's models fall over.
So like full mast. Is that what you're
Everything-
trying to tell me right
Full
now?
mass, that's true.
Everything's
No, they're pretty much
fucking
all
metal.
Pewter, yeah. You can use them to go fishing.
Yeah,
They
you
had,
could.
they had Grey Knights and Demon Hunters, didn't they?
Grey Knights are Demon Hunters.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's what I thought. Okay, all right.
But they had
So
like
They had Inquisitors too, didn't
Oh,
Yeah, Inquisitors
am
were
I-
in the book. They had the little Jericho guy, the little orangutan running around.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Jericho weaponsmith.
Jiraco.
Jiraco? I always read it as Jericho.
Orangutan.
Yeah. The orangutan that's good with guns.
Warhammer Fantasy Battle 4th edition launched in 92.
Yeah, see, I can't remember. Like, yeah, it was
It was
like,
the 90s. There was a lot of drugs and stuff,
there was
right?
a lot of alcohol and hitting my head into stuff and going to the bar. So
Warhammer Fantasy Battle moved a lot differently than 40k.
Yes.
Like 40k kind of like slow burned up. Warhammer Fantasy Battle got to 8th edition launched in like early 2000s, and then by like 2004, 2005, the world had ended and Age of Sigmar was a thing. So like,
Yep.
Warhammer Fantasy Battle had a much different for being that the games were launched relatively close to each other. There's a huge difference in editions.
yeah, there's a huge
For whatever
difference in
reason.
how
Close to each other.
totally different.
Oh yeah.
it was a different beast. I remember the square bases and putting them all in squads, and that's all changed now.
And with Fantasy Battle, I still have my Dark Elves because they're the best. And I had an
Very
orc
nice.
army that I sold.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
but a lot of my that orc
Painful.
army that I kept got converted into the orcs I have now for 40k.
nice.
Ah, okay. Well,
Nice.
that's
That's cool.
That's dope.
That's dope.
Yeah, so I started playing 40k, fell in love with the lore for the Imperial Fists because I wanted a Space Marine army, and I just fell in love with the lore. They're the only ones that recruit from Terra, so I'm like, he's the loyalist of the Suns, so it's like, why not?
what drew you to the Space Marines? Was it all the advertisement?
No. It was I kept getting my ass handed to me in games with Demon Hunters.
Oh, shit.
I mean, let's
Oh, yeah.
be truthful. That's what was happening.
There was Witch Hunters too, right? That was another supplement that had come out. I remember
Demon Hunters was the codex that predated the Grey Knights, and then Witch Hunters stayed around for a while. And I think they're now kind of folded into the Sororitas sisters.
right, yeah, somewhat. I think they're almost like a dead type of army now, but they're the ones with the cool hats and like
They folded a lot of the models into the Sisters of Battle. So if you want to run like the old Crusaders, or you want to run some of the Inquisitors,
the flamey crossbow pistols.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's all Sisters stuff now.
That's fun stuff.
Very Van Helsing.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I fell in love with the lore for the fists. So I've been building a fist army like forever. I basically have, I think, 4 companies
Oh, God.
that I can run.
Nice.
Do you know how many points that is?
Well, recently I played 4,000 points and it wasn't everything.
Well, like maybe like a fifth of everything.
So I'm probably around 8 to 9,000 points.
Oh, boy.
That's about right.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like the point total on my Eldar.
And it's never going to end.
Is that your largest, Ryan? Your largest army? The
I
Eldar?
by far have way more Eldar than anything. At this point, I can field a Craft World Eldar army and an Exodite army.
Oh, my God.
But
awesome.
you know what's funny is, like, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, oh, I have way more Tau than Knights, but like points wise, I'm probably about the same now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, with the chaos as well, right?
Well, no, not even. Like, it was just how many Knights that I have with how much points they're worth.
Oh,
Like,
my God.
I'm getting there. Like,
I love that stuff.
I have, I think, 3 lances worth of Knights.
Oh, my God.
Damn.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. And then I've got my other favorite army, Marky and Tom have both played against, is my Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like fighting that army.
I want to see Want to see the pictures.
Complete opposite of my fists. My fists are all about holding and killing you from a distance.
Yeah, I mean they don't have titties, right? So
Yeah, and my Slanesh is all about caressing you.
And
That's right.
getting,
To death.
and getting crushed by
Getting
harpoons.
right up in
I
there.
I like crab claws and titties, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, two
Yeah.
favorite things.
They're real good at getting shot by a harpoon in Overwatch.
Oh my
That is
God. Like
Yeah,
what,
that
3
is true.
times in a row or
times in a
something? Oh
row,
my
yep.
God.
Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then I've just been playing the game forever. I actually have pictures of 2 of my daughters. The oldest one's 29 now, and the youngest is going to be 16.
Don't date yourself, Chuck.
Well,
Know.
that's just how it is. And I got pictures of them painting orcs.
Oh hell yeah.
One
Very
fantasy
nice.
and one 40k.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So yeah, I've been playing it for a while. Love the game. I like all styles of it too. Tournament play, casual play. So
Yeah, you get all arounder because Chuck loves the hobby. He loves painting.
yeah.
that's
What I
I guess it's
appreciate-
part of the hobby. It's part of the hobby.
What I legitimately appreciate most about Chuck is that when I got on my bullshit about like, oh yeah, the fucking man-knights, blah blah blah, all my lore and shit, he was about it. He was just
Yeah.
like there. He's like, hell yeah, and I was like, I like him.
Yeah,
He listens to me.
Right? I was like, all the other guys tell me to shut up, and Chuck's like, tell me more.
told me more. That's like fucking cool, man. You come up with your own lore for your stuff. Like you got to embrace it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
appreciate
what?
that.
And that's
Me-
what we're all about.
yeah.
So
So everybody's
it-
about. And
good-
basically
good
I
fit.
met Marky in a league.
Yeah.
Basically, I actually had Marky sweating till what?
Oh my.
Turn 4.
So Chuck has these things called hell blasters, and if you run them with Imperial Fist, they're pretty dirty. And
That's
not
the
a lot of
plasma- that's
people.
the plasma people.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
the hell
Yes.
blasters. And they hell blasted the shit out of my dreadnoughts.
Nice.
Those old things.
Yeah.
And then
Very
basically
nice.
the game turned around and Marky pushed my shit in and bought me a coat because he felt bad for me.
I had to.
Sounds about right. That sounds
I
about.
had to.
Was this
that
at
sounds
our-
about how that plays out?
is this at our favorite local
This was
store?
at the local one. This is at our semi-sponsored OBG.
our
Yeah.
affiliate.
No, that wasn't there.
Yeah, this is at OBG, wasn't it?
No.
Was that our
the
second
one in
game?
Miramar?
Oh.
Oh,
Eddie's.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie's.
Okay, so this is. I'm thinking of another game then, at OBG.
Another
'Cause
game
we played there
where
too.
Dreadnoughts got
Fuck,
shot.
we have, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's right.
Are you sure it
think I
wasn't at OBG?
I think I may
You
have
know what-
actually met
You know what?
then.
It was.
Yeah, I think Ryan was there. Yeah, Ryan was buying shit, and I shamed him. I'm like, Ryan, what are you doing? And he's just like, what?
Nothing.
Don't look at me.
100% not buying another army that I don't have time to paint.
You've done that anytime I've gone to a game store with you.
He's like
You
Schmeagol in the
cannot-
corner.
You cannot take me to a game store. You cannot take me to a game store. Well, these guys, and I'm
I'm the same way.
I'm putting you on blast right now, Chucker. These guys were talking about Gene Stealer Cult Knights earlier, and I'm like, fuck, I know what I'm painting for the next
Oh, yeah.
contest.
Fuck yeah, dude. Like I think that's a great that's a great concept for somebody for modeling.
Right?
Because like the whole hobby part, like I said, like I love the hobby part, and somebody comes up like with Tom with like really cool lore to run with it. It's like, do it.
Like, that's so fucking cool.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
did you not
Yeah,
see
that's
the?
like so cool.
Did you not see the model that I sent to? Oh, damn it! So I found a xenomorph queen
Ooh.
that's the size of a knight.
Get out.
And I was
Ooh,
like-
nice.
That same company that I found the Pegasus.
Yeah.
I found that, and it was like, oh my god,
Don't do this to me.
yeah.
There you
I
go.
can't start a
Has
Tyranids
to
army.
happen.
Don't do this to me.
Has to happen
Don't do
now.
this to me.
I have a Tyranids army you can use.
Don't do this to me. Stop.
See?
Stop. All of you stop. I can't.
Yes,
I'm
you can.
So
I'm not strong enough.
Gene Stealer cult. You got one half of it.
I'm not strong enough.
you guys have some plans to start doing some streaming stuff again, right? Am I putting you on?
That
am I
is the
putting you on
plan,
blast?
sir.
Oh yeah.
That is the plan.
Well, that was one of the driving factors, I think, in bringing, Chuck and Matt on board, was to utilize that, because running it with 3 of us now that Ryan's
Ryan abandoned
In
us.
the middle of
bitch.
nowhere.
moved to the land of the ice and snow.
Dude, it fucking snowed on Easter. I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
What is this white stuff?
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So it's like, we had talked about it before, and, utilizing, it was funny because you brought it up, and this was right during the fair circuit. So I'm just coming back from that. And Kevin and I were talking, and I was like, oh yeah, they're bringing in, Chuck and Matt. We're going to be doing all this stuff. And I was like, hopefully we're not being replaced, because like both Kevin and I were like doing fair stuff.
No,
Right. That's what I said. And
I can't fit in your shoes.
You can't. No one
Too
can.
We totally.
You need you and Matt and Mark's feet.
We totally flash cloned you. What are you talking about?
Right. Size 14.5 shoe. But yeah, so
like a few sizes down.
Yeah, no, I'm literally 14.5. It's really hard to find shoes. But so Kevin and I were talking about it, and I was like, oh, hopefully this isn't to replace us. And Kevin was like, oh, dude, no, it's so we can stream. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And then like the next day.
How dare you?
Well, then the next day, Mark messages me and he's like, we got to talk about this crusade. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
My man. My man. So then Mark and I ended up jumping on the computer for a while.
A little bit.
Yeah. So as Ryan, I'm sure you want to bring up the main conversation of the topic that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So we're gonna the reason that we're doing a little bit a mini series here, 3 episode series on campaigns, is we are getting you guys into the vibe, so to speak, because these guys are designing a crusade, and then a part of that element of that crusade design that we talked about last episode when we went over the different types of campaigns that there are and how to kind of implement them is we want to do a mass campaign. So we're going to come up with the crusade rules and the campaign rules that these guys are going to be playing out on stream. And then there's going to be a component of it where we're going to reach out to our Discord members and we're going to basically say, here are the different mission packs that we've set up for you guys to play out. When you play out these missions, either at your local stores or amongst each other or on Tabletop Simulator, however you guys want to play it, you're going to record your winnings with us. You're going to submit that data to us, and then we're going to use it to update how things are happening. So, as we talked about last time, Warhammer 40k is epic. Nothing happens in a vacuum. So as these guys are kind of the main push, as these guys are doing the big moves, so to speak, the center stage moves, so to speak, there's conflict happening all around them. And those conflicts, which are going to help kind of drive or change or influence the plot points that we set out, are going to be things that you guys are going to help us influence and decide on. Or
it'll be interesting.
That's
kind of
cool.
We're going to come up with an entire other crusade for you guys to play while these guys stream. It really kind of depends on how the technology works. It's one of those, a lot of companies have tried this.
Sounds good on paper.
The failed television.
Practice.
What was that? It was a TV show, the sci-fi TV show that had a video game that happened at the same time. I tried to work for the company for fucking years. Defiance.
Digimon?
Defiance.
No, Defiance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, oh, yeah, the actions you take in the MMO are going to change the story. And I'm like, that's a dope idea. And then, of course, like, you have to write stuff like simultaneously. So we're going to try. We're going to try to integrate everybody and do some mass stuff because it sounds super fun.
That's really cool. Like, are the factions other people going to play? How it's going to influence? So, like, of course, there's Imperium and everyone else.
Yeah, basically.
So
we're going to try to set up like, here's what the Imperium is trying to do. Here's what the arch enemy is trying to do. Here are what the Xenos are trying to do. And then I think we're going to play around a little bit with like, here's what the Renegades are trying to do. So instead of doing the, like, there's only 3, we're going to give you the option of that. Like, you don't have to necessarily be chaos. You can also just be like, this is a Space Marine chapter that's just kind of going against everything.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing to take into account that like one of the, I don't want to say supporting roles, but one of the factions that is being utilized in the primary written story are Rogue Trader Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which technically aren't really necessarily aligned to anybody,
Nope. Yeah.
They're soldiers of fortune, if you will.
Right.
So,
and Renegade Knights are a big thing, and they're not necessarily chaos yet.
And still traitors.
Yeah, and even kind of something I was thinking of implementing was what the community does drives specific rules. So, like, for example, let's say there's a Death Guard player playing, a demon player, or I guess that wouldn't be the best. A Death Guard player playing Imperial Guard player and the Death Guard player wins, that will buff. Well, it doesn't even specifically have to be Death Guard, but that would buff the Death Guard player in our campaign. Like, oh, he gets an extra 200 points in reinforcements in this specific battle because the Death Guard pushed the Imperium so far back. The Death Guard are now overrunning. So now Tom has to deal with 200 more points of Death Guard.
Yeah, which isn't a big deal.
He's like 1 harpoon, 30 Death Guard. 30 Death.
Or say, for instance, the Imperial Guard players that are out there in our community and on our server managed to capture some specific planet or specific like backup node, then, Chuck, you might bring in extra Imperial fists or something like that. There'll be these little things.
Gotcha.
And we've done some of this stuff. Those of you guys who watched some of our early streams, you saw us. We did some of this with our duos game where it was Marky and I with our Gene Stealers and Tyranids versus Kevin and Tom with the Imperial Knights and the Rogue Trader forces. And then we also did it when Tom and I went up against each other when we did Wraith Knights versus Knights, which the Wraith Knights got creamed. But when I did my Exodites against his Knights, and we let you guys determine where asteroids were going to fall every round. So you remember that game?
Brutal.
That game was fun, but fucking brutal.
I got hit in the head so many times.
Yeah.
I told Ryan and Tom, like, and guess what? There's meteors flying into the planet as you fight. And they're like, what?
I know. I was like, no.
Yes.
Taking 5 mortal wounds before I'm even on the charge. Like, son of a bitch.
That rolls us into today's specific topic is let's get into some of the campaigns that we've really liked. And I keep saying campaigns, and the reason I keep saying campaigns is if it is, and if it's a crusade, it still falls under campaign play. So a crusade is a type of game, but a campaign is like a way of telling a story. And just think of it historically. In the historic context of the word, Caesar went on a campaign against the Gauls. Caesar's army went through the crusade rules, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, to expand upon that, campaigns are what we used to call them before there were crusade rules.
Right.
So crusade is a rule set developed for campaigning. Is probably like the best way that I've come to understand it.
Yeah.
Is crusade is the Games Workshop rule set for campaigning, which campaigning has been around since the first Rogue Trader, and so campaigning is essentially a way to play a game continuing from the last game you had. It's a part 2, a part 3, a part 4, and as Ryan said, it's telling that story through your gaming. And crusade is just an ability. Making it a crusade means that you're following a rule set, I would say, is from how we understand it now.
Well said, sir.
Bless.
Yeah. It's putting rules to something that people naturally started doing because they wanted to do narrative stuff.
Yeah. Narrative play. There you go. That's the other word for it.
Anybody have something that jumps off the page? I want to share my first ever campaign experience. I don't know if anybody's ready, go for it. If you're not,
campaign. There's narrative games that I've played, but as far as full campaigns, like continuing battles over and over again, I would have to say the campaign that Tom and I did when we initially started our crusade rules. This is where Deadeye was born. This is where I was playing Kevin's Imperial Guard, and I believe I was playing Death Watch at the time.
You were
sweaty Death Watch or normal Death Watch?
No.
Normal.
Death Watch is just sweaty.
This is before they were sweaty. No.
It's pronounced Shveti.
The very Shveti Death Watch army. And I want to say that because of this campaign, it scratched the itch that I didn't have, or it scratched the itch that I had that I didn't know I had. Right? Yeah. It's like when you cough and it kind of scratches your throat for you. It's kind of like that when it's raining really big drops and, they tell you not to look up.
You look up.
And when you go take a piss and then you realize you really had to pee.
Yeah. And your kidneys feel better. Like, it scratches that itch.
This is a total fucking tangent, but I was outside working in my garden a couple of days ago and I fucking inhaled a dandelion seed. Like
Oh,
the you
good.
know
the little,
dandelions,
fluffy thing, like
dandelions are all over our fucking yard. Like we have thousands of them in our yard.
Oh my
I fucking
God.
inhaled this thing and I was like dying coughing. Like it was the worst. Like I just tried to push through. I'm a dude, so I was like, it was fine. It's a little tickle. I'll be fine. And then like maybe 3-4 seconds later, I was like doubled over.
Your
like,
eyes are
going,
teared up.
I
You're just like,
can't
oh.
breathe. I was like, I need a hose. Just put water in me. Anyway, sorry. I know that's
Where's
totally
my life alert?
here's I've fallen and I can't get up.
fucking weed came in my throat and it sucked. Okay,
That's one way to put it.
came all in my throat.
A lot of people pay good money for that.
That's all pollen is. Remember, this is one of our first podcast episodes ever. We talked about how the trees are coming.
Oh yeah, it's when the wind blows.
It's like callback to like episode 2 right
Yeah.
there.
When the pollen rate was really high in this area.
Didn't we
my
like
God.
make that a video and it's like the title of the video is
It was a clip on Twitch or something.
That's it.
But when it was really when the cum was really thick in the air, the tree cum was really thick in the air, and you were driving to my house, it was just
You could see it.
Splatters all
You
over
Yeah,
fucking
the windshield.
see it.
is
like,
bukkake
oh my
all
God.
over your windshield.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal.
That's actually the best.
It's actually
That's
the
why
best.
I play
It's the
Slanesh.
best.
Life finds a way.
It found a way.
No, but I mean that game, that was just you and I like learning it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Marky and I have always played narratively. Like every game that we played, we came up with a story for. Like whether it's something super simple or something complex, it didn't matter.
For what is it,
right.
like 2 years,
For
Tom?
like, yeah,
For
basically
like 2 years, Tom, and we've talked about it before. For 2 years, Tom and I played back to back every week,
Friday.
every damn week, Death Watch against Tau,
Yep.
and every game we're like, why are we finding each other today?
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise it was just going to get monotonous, you
Yep.
know, and like,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. We salted our stories, you know,
Exactly.
we seasoned our stories.
Yeah, it's
So
actually pretty cool. 'Cause
Yes.
Matt and I have done the same thing where we're the only ones we could find to play, and we did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Fists and Death Guard for 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
We never thought of doing that, but we would just change the armies to try different stuff.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, we'll
never
see.
added the narrative
Yeah.
part, but that's actually really cool.
That's why we
to
do
keep it going.
Yeah,
Yep.
like we'd bring out different generals, you know, like different. I'd bring out different commanders.
Near sight.
Yeah, anytime I'd rock a different loadout, I was like, "This is a new commander," like, you know, and that was like our thing was doing this, and it really, you know, it's what got it started, and that's when the Crusade rules came out, we were like, "Oh,
We got some rules to
here
attach
it
to
is."
this now.
Yeah, here it is. Now we got it. But we did what 6 games?
I want to say, I think I played a total of like 12 games. I played 6 with you and 6 with Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, and I played, I think, obviously 6 with you, but I think I only played like 2 or 3 with Kevin.
Yeah.
But you know, like that's what it's funny because it was like there was this whole meal in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had this whole like planned out meal, and you took a bite of the appetizer, was like, this is fucking good. We need to make another. Like it was one, like for me, that's what it was. I was like, this is so delicious. I'm not even going to fucking eat it. I want another one made. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, like I tried it, I dabbled in it, and I was like, this is great. We're going to do another one. You know,
Mhm.
like I want it started over. I want to go from the very beginning. I want to go balls deep. Like, and then we never did.
Yeah, we really
You
did.
know?
And it
And-
sucked
well,
because we
And-
wanted to.
and now we are.
And-
We had a plan and we had started working on a crusade with some friends. And
Yeah.
COVID was weird. That's the only thing I can say. COVID was weird and things fell apart. It was really hard to kind of get that group of friends out of the tournament mindset.
Yeah, that was a big
yeah.
driving factor in that we just couldn't. It was not a group to do it with, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
and like that's fine. Like, you know, you as a person, like speaking to the viewers here, like or listeners, you as a person are going to experience that.
You
You
can
know,
be
you're
a
good-
viewer if you pay $3 a month.
There you go.
Sorry, I had to get that in there.
You can totally be a
Patreon
viewer if you
plug,
give-
shameless
Hit,
plug.
hit,
Just
hit.
give us some money, and then you know you can watch what I'm talking about right now. You know, that's the whole thing. Like that was, you're going to encounter that, you know, when you're going through and trying to find this stuff. But there are certain times you're going to find it. and
It's a
gonna work.
phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's where we're at now.
I'm in a heavy tournament set right now. And the main reason that I'm in a heavy tournament mindset right now is I'm trying to meet as many players as possible, because one of the benefits of being a podcast and a streaming group that exists in 2 locations is theoretically, if we get our acts together, we can produce more content. But it's difficult to kind of meet, especially here, there's not a lot of narrative. There's not a lot of crusade. It's me going, hey, we should do this. And people being like, yeah, I'll totally play with you. And then coming out and running their like heavy tournament list. Yeah. And part of that is because a lot of the grand tournament players that win are actually like within driving distance from where I live.
Oh, goody.
Oh, goody. And that's what you always run into is everybody go, hey, let's play. But don't bring your nasty list. I want to play. And then you don't bring a nasty list. But
yeah, they bring a super nasty
a couple
list.
times.
Yeah.
That was most of my experiences until
Tom and I played until Tom played me.
Yeah, until meeting Mark. And then that was still one of those experiences. But then Mark was like, oh, well, you aren't as good as me. I'll dumb down my stuff. And I was like, thank you.
That's not true.
That is exactly what happened.
True. That is a lie.
No, I was terrible. Like, I didn't even know the fucking rules.
Did you buy you a Coke afterwards at least?
No, I didn't even know the rules when I started playing with Mark. Like, I knew them ish. And then like it was one of those where I was like, okay, cool, my turn. He's like, movement. I'm like, oh, right. Okay, so I need to move this far. He's like, those move 12. I'm like, thanks. Like
I have been playing Tyranids for 6 fucking months, like straight. Every single game I play is Tyranids. I played my Necrons for like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, sorry.
Well, he never used to be.
He's on the dark side.
I don't even want to talk about how everybody was like, play this, no change to this, no change. And I was like,
hey, Ryan, you got it. You got to play. Those are the cards you dealt.
Yeah, you chose your own damn path.
I know. But I played Necron for a couple of weeks out here. Not the problem, the issue, not the issue.
I was gonna say that's the same thing as problem.
The landscape that I find myself in is there's a lot of new players, and the new set with a lot of fucking awesome models is the Necron versus Primaris set, and that's not really the new set anymore. But that was the thing that was super hot not that long ago. So there's a lot of Necron players and there's a lot of Primaris players, which is cool. I dig it. But I played Necrons for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, okay, I'm the only person doing super aggressive melee Necrons, and I'm doing way better than I should be because this is a very dangerous way to run Necrons. I shouldn't be winning this often. And I'm like, okay, I'll change it up. I'll go back I'll dip back into my Tyranids, and I run Tyranids super aggressively. These guys know I'm going to try to get into your face turn 1. If I can't charge you turn 1, I fucked up. And I feel bad about myself. But I've been playing Tyranids for...
You failed your charge? You don't want to go home? That's your home. It's good for your home.
I've been playing Tyranids for 6 months, and probably half the time I'm like, all right, movement's done. All right, so who am I going to shoot with? And I'll pick up the dice and start rolling them, and then I'll go, oh, fuck, psychic. Like the biggest step for my army. Why do I keep forgetting it?
Why do you want to forget that? Because you want to charge.
Because he ran. Well, Necrons have psychic, right?
But every time I played Tau, single time, not really.
They have like a weird...
They have things that just go off.
Yeah. Every single time I played Tau with these guys, I'd be like, and it's my psychic phase, and I'm doing nothing.
Oh, yeah, because it's a point to do nothing. You got to make the point that you're not doing it. That's why you remember it.
Right.
It's the salty psychic phase.
I got to do psychic, rock, paper, scissors, anyone?
That's why when I play Fist, I'm usually scribing my bolter rounds during the psychic phase. I usually don't have a librarian.
Yeah. I'm going to cast 69 millimeter bolt on you.
Yes.
69.
Do you play the wall? I can't remember that. It's something the wall. The last wall, is that the style that you're running? You say they only recruit from Terra. There's a what the hell?
No, they don't. They don't only recruit from Terra. They're the only chapter that recruits from Terra.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. There's a lore chunk of Imperial Fists I think it's called like the last bastion, the last wall.
Yeah, I think it's the last wall, and that's when all the second founding, third founding chapters go, oh yeah, we are Imperial Fists, and they all go to Terra.
Ooh. Oh, is this what you were telling me about a week or two
yeah.
ago, where
I've
they
heard about
essentially
this.
turn into a legion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've essentially turned back into
Yeah.
elite. And see, the Ultramarines do the same thing.
Mhm.
They're more open about it, and same with the Blood Angels are more open about it. But it's like, if anybody knows any of the lore, they're like, the Fists call that, and everybody heads back to Terra to defend Terra.
Yeah.
Ah.
Right.
See, and I actually have a theory about the map of the galaxy.
Mhm.
So in the lore,
Oh, is
they've
it tinfoil hat time?
Tinfoil hat time.
tinfoil hat time.
Tinfoil hat with Chuck time.
So they have never revealed Inwit, where Dorn is from. And he supposedly had a galaxy conquered that rivals Gilman's.
Hmm.
They've never revealed where it is. And if you look at all the maps and all the books, if it's southwest of the Sol system,
Galactic Southwest. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of calm. Like there's little things in every book, but it's very calm compared to everything else. I
Yeah.
believe that's where Inwit's at.
Mm.
And
So like
everything
down,
is-
like down out, kind of tight towards Krieg.
like the total opposite end of the galaxy from McCraig.
Right.
Yeah, and it's all
like
nice and really calm down there, and that's because the loyalist son has everything set up proper down there.
Yeah, Dorn
like it.
Dorn runs a tight ship.
Yes, he does.
I like it. How do you feel? I realize we're straying off campaign, our favorite campaigns. We'll
I
get
was
back
just
in a
going to bring
second.
it back to that.
Yeah, we're just good. But real quick, what you got, Ryan?
How do you feel about the Dorian heresy? Which will get its own episode.
Oh,
gents.
if Dorn?
Dorn was
yeah,
traitor.
where Dorn,
If Dorn
fell
was the
instead
traitor?
of Horus. Yeah.
Oh, they would have won.
Ouch! As a Black Legion player, I'm sad now.
He's like that hurt me. I didn't
I'm
think
sorry,
I
I'm
needed
gonna-
to be hurt
I'm
like
gonna
that
go.
right now.
I'm gonna go cry in Horus.
He's all, oh, what do I think about that?
Because I haven't read. I fell off reading all the Horus Heresy book novels, and when the point I had gotten,
I don't blame you.
Well, no, I really liked a lot of them. They were really good.
Yeah.
And you read them and you realize the legions that fell were the second picks that the Chaos Gods wanted.
Yes.
Oh.
yeah.
Yes, they were the second picks. See, the Blood Angels didn't fall,
Right.
so they got World Eaters instead.
Oh my God! I want Sanguinius. I want
so-
Sanguinius to have a new model, and I want to buy it and paint it, and I don't know why. Like, because I'm not a Space Marines dude at all, and like I have this
I love
like I
'em.
need to paint Sanguinius for some reason.
Sanguinius did get a new model a couple of years ago. It just
Yeah.
doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
He looks a
Yeah.
little bit.
It's Forge World.
Yeah, he looks a little weird.
I
He's
just
supposed to
get-
be like a great looking dude, and he kind of looks like a potato.
He's supposed to be an angel.
all Games Workshop models look like potatoes.
Cree. He's just a baked potato.
I got a big gripe, and then Tom's right.
And
we
then
need
we'll
to
bring it
wrap back into our actual damn fucking topic. But I have a huge gripe. I fucking hate what they did to the con. Like,
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I get that there's this kind of like PC-ification happening where they're trying not
Yeah,
to be
hot take. Ryan's hot takes.
Yeah, my hot take. They're not trying to be like openly, oh yeah, this is based on the Mongolian, but everybody knows that they're based on
yeah.
the Mongolians, and like I don't think anybody ever might. I don't think the Mongolians would be mad about it. They're a fucking badass chapter.
Dude, I want
Let
a
them
Mexican
have a
chapter.
historical content.
Oh, wait,
I want a
Mexican chapter.
Hispanic chapter.
They,
So-
they have one.
there's
that-
The Luchadors.
there's a map you can find online, and it actually shows where all the legions
Would be like if
came,
they
well,
were.
came from Terra, because when the
Yeah.
Emperor drew everybody,
Yeah.
it
Yep.
shows, and there's one
Huh.
that's
And-
tied to
and-
Mexico.
and very
Wanna-
legitimately, the white scars come from the area around the Imperial Palace, which is the area that the
Mongol.
Mongolians fucking conquered.
Yep.
So, anyway,
Minotaurs.
Oh,
Minotaurs. Yeah.
Yeah,
there you
why?
go.
Why the
Minotaurs.
Hispanics got to be
Minotaurs.
dicks?
And they're
Why?
dope as shit because their models are like Spartans.
That is true. Well, then that would be like, isn't that Roman?
No,
Mhm.
that's Ultramarines.
That'd be-
Ultramarines are Romans.
Oh,
I have to
Greeks.
say,
Greeks.
is it slightly weird that the guy who's almost half Native American is super into Crute on the podcast? So I realized as I was doing a bunch of Kroot stuff, I'm like, oh, the Kroot are pretty Native American.
Yeah.
And in a non-racist way. In a very
You could
cool
even
way.
say that. You could even say that though about the Tau in general.
Oh yeah, the Tau. Yeah, that's true.
Everything's elemental. Like
Yeah.
that's very, very native culture. You know, like that's
Hmm.
super Native American culture. You know, people may argue that, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to it. But to me, I always found that aspect like
That's kind of cool. I never thought about it.
yeah,
like that.
dude. That's what got me into Tau in the first place. I was like, ooh, elements.
And Tom and I will say it every single fucking time somebody brings it up. The Tau are based on Imperial Japanese culture, not on communist Russia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want communist Russia, you Imperium.
Somebody actually argued against me about that a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, right, but the saying is the greater good, and that's totally a communist saying. And I'm like, the greater good is literally what the kamikaze pilots painted on the side of their airplanes in Japanese. That's where that comes from.
And that's why I've ever build and paint a Tau army. It's gonna be a World War II Japanese military.
That'd be dope.
Oh,
hell yeah, dude, that'd be
that.
fucking
I've
dope.
actually
Yeah.
seen
Where they have like the samurai armor.
I saw a crisis suit painted up
dark
with like,
green.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had a
All
white
right.
helmet with the red dot, and then he
that's
had a
dope.
green, and it was all shit.
That's
It was like that's
super
sick.
dope. Super dope.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
Crusade,
bring it back.
Crusade.
Back to
Yeah.
Crusade.
Yeah, Crusade.
So my first campaign that I ever played in was probably it was the late 90s. It was before I got into Dark Eldar. I was still playing Eldar and Imperial Guard primarily. And I was invited to this group called the Grey Knights, and there was this weekend-long campaign that was being held at the organizer's house up in the mountains of the San Diego-ish area. And it was dope. It was pretty much the first time I'd ever done anything like that. I was like 16, 17 at the time. Shit, it was like mid 90s. But anyway, it was cool because they catered in. The things that stand out in my mind are they catered in pulled pork, which was badass.
Okay.
We all got to hang out in rear projection TVs, which were fucking rare back then.
Yep.
There's a rear projection TV, like a little what are they called, like home theater. So it was this whole thing. Pool. It was just this dope hangout space, and he had turned over half of the hangout space into campaign play for Warhammer. And I had my Imperial Guard out, and I didn't really know. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And the Tyranids were just getting there, not the sculpts that are popular now, but the sculpts that were popular. Those of you guys who have seen me do some Throwback Thursday photos, you've seen them. In fact, when I threw up my old Tyranid models, I absolutely loved. Tom was like, what fucking unit is this? I'm like, that's a Carnifex. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's a Carnifex from back in the day.
old metal ones.
Oh, the old
metal
ones.
ones.
The ones that look like a tarantula.
Yeah. Hey, I love those, man. You stop it.
I was playing. No, not the four-armed guy.
Oh,
Yeah, not the hugger, the other one. But anyway, I was playing this dude, and I was running Catachans because Catachans were pretty big. The Splat for 3rd edition had just come out. So it may have been a little later. The Splat for 3rd edition had just come out for Catachans, and I was running a bunch of heavy flamers, and nobody had beat this Tyranid player. Nobody had beat this Tyranid player. He was dominating the entire campaign.
And then
And
he came to Catachan. He came to the wrong
came-
jungle.
And then he came to the wrong jungle. Yeah,
And made him
I
bleed his own blood.
lit him up. I boxed him into the middle of the map, not really knowing what I was doing, boxed him into the middle of the map and just lit him up with flamers. And it was vindicating. And the way that worked is if you lost a table,
Was this
you
with
moved-
templates? Did you flamer him with templates?
oh yeah, with templates.
Oh,
So this
Bringing it
yeah,
back.
they'll still bring a quiver
Oh
up
my
your spine.
God.
I know, right? I love the templates.
So the way that
Still
he
have
had
mine.
set up the campaign is there were 10 tables. There may have been more than 10 tables, but I recall there being 10 tables spread out, and each table was represented as kind of a gradation of this planet. So you had the forest, and then you had the mountains, and then you had the like technological area. And it was super dope because if you stood back and you looked at the whole thing, it looked like one continuous battlefield. The way that he had set up all the terrain and everything was preset. He had pre-designed everything. So if you lost as your force, you had to move down a table. You had to move further away from the goal. The goal was the center of the city. If you won, you advanced closer. And if you which you're not really supposed to do, but if you had lost all the way that you had gotten on the back table, the furthest out tables, and you had lost twice in a row, you were eliminated. It was just this cool moment because I had started in the mountains and I had been pushed back 2 tables, and then I won and I got to advance into the mountains, and I had kind of figured out what I needed to do, which was run my guys, get my devils to pop out. They pop out of it wasn't deep strike back. They had hidden deployment. So they'd pop out of hidden deployment, and then I would move them back, and whoever I was fighting would follow the devils. And then as the devils moved back, I would basically choke into like a box canyon. I would make a box canyon on and it worked. It worked like 4 times in a row. And I felt really proud of myself for finally fucking winning at Warhammer, because I had been playing at this point for probably 4 or 5 years, and I think I had won a couple, but they had always been like when I was playing friends. They had never been like when I was at an event.
To build on Ryan's point that he just made right now, how long did you guys lose before you won your first game of 40k?
Easily 2-3 years.
Do you know, Chuck?
Winning the first game?
Yeah, how long did it take you to win your first game of 40k?
So I was actually going to tournaments at a store. They were having them like every other weekend.
Yeah.
So probably the second weekend.
So you won
nice.
like your maybe 8th or 9th game of 40k,
and that was with Demon Hunters.
Nice.
Yeah, that's that.
But
I used to run nothing but Terminators and Dreadnoughts.
How long had you played Warhammer Fantasy Battle before you won a game?
That's a good point.
Oh, before Warhammer Fantasy, it was probably 6-7 months. And I haven't always been able to go like consistently to stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially back then.
Well,
dude.
that's like me too. Like when I first started playing, it took me years because I played very rarely.
Yeah.
If I was to pick it up, it was probably like my 15th game.
Yeah.
And then I talked to one of my buddies in this other gamer group I was in. He played High Elves and I played Dark Elves.
Okay.
And he'd been playing for a while, and he basically broke the game down a little bit better for me, and I started running more like how he did. Changed my entire world.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it took me 3 years to win my first game of 40k.
Yeah.
Just to win one game.
Yep.
And then I lost a lot after that. But
And is that playing at stores or just with buddies?
that's with buddies, Garage Hammer. I didn't play at a store until 7th edition. So I think I played 3 editions without playing at a store.
It's the same
It
people I'm
took
thinking
me-
of. Yes.
It took me 2 years to win in the tournament scene. I probably won my first game with my Eldar within my first like 10 games. But again, like there is a difference, and I'm talking like high school.
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, the guys I was playing with, the Garage Hammer guys I was playing with, were in high school. Like none of us were good at this.
No, I started playing. I was already been working. Yeah, I was like 20 or 21 when I actually started playing fantasy. So I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with a little bit of learning curve too, with the ages and stuff. I was and the fact that I played fantasy before. So I know
you have at least the mentality.
Yeah, and then the two right now, like with how rules and stuff have changed, there are things that are from old fantasy that are now in 40k, and everybody says it comes from Age of Sigmar. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it comes from old fantasy.
Oh yeah.
There's also stuff in the newer editions of Warhammer 40k that are from like 3rd edition Warhammer 40k. And people are really pissed about like these things coming back. And I'm like, these were rules for fucking like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
I get that they
awesome.
haven't been rules for 6 years, but they were rules for the majority. Being somebody who started, so I'm kind of on your level, Chuck, because I started in 92.
Remember a lot of old stuff.
With Eldar, but I played probably way more fantasy battle than I played 40k until the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when my switch over for me happened. And I played a lot of the end times stuff. I'm a Skaven guy. I still have like 6,000 to 8,000 points in Skaven.
Oh my god, still?
Yeah. I have no clue what I have in Dark Elves, but I have them still. But Crusades,
yes.
So my first Crusade, so I think it was 5th,
Mhm.
And so, do you remember when they had the actual the little tiles?
Yes.
So
The hexes.
yes,
Yep.
the hexes
Yes.
for as you would play. Oh, see, Marky looks intrigued. Maybe he's never seen this.
No, I didn't start playing narrative games till way later. Yeah.
So the way it
We
would
talked
work
about
is
the hex tiles last
Yeah, I
episode.
remember us talking about it. I didn't know they had
yeah.
an actual.
they had an actual thing, and the way it was supposed to be based is everybody that was in the campaign league would, as you would win, you would place stuff on a tile,
Mhm.
and they would reveal, oh, there's like a manufacture 'em. So you would get access to different kinds of troops within your army.
I'm gonna have to talk to you about this later.
That was
Chuck.
the first. That was the first style of campaign that I played.
So,
Oh, really?
And it was really cool. And I didn't get to finish playing because of work and kids and the whole thing. But my favorite memory of that whole one was I started playing Sisters of Battle. So the first one, you only
an
had
expensive army.
I still have them.
Get out, really?
Yeah. And I've been building on, but like it's, dude, yeah, like I'm that one. Like you look at my hobby area,
Yeah,
it's like a toy store. Like it's full of unopened boxes. So anyway, what had happened was I forget what the points were, but one of the guys in the league again hadn't been beaten.
Yeah.
He was running a Land Raider and a squad of Marines.
Back when they were really good, mind you.
They still are. They've always been good.
Oh, but they were way better back in the day.
I'll fight you with that.
Armor 14 was way better back in the day, man.
Oh, yeah, Armor 14 was great.
But it was insane.
So the thing was, he kept winning at this low level because nobody brought any kind of special or heavy weapons. Me being a fist player, that's what I live in.
Yep.
So I had melt-a-guns. So I basically had 2 rhinos, like 2 5-man sister squads, and kind of like what Ryan was saying, I boxed him in where he couldn't go nowhere, and it
didn't end well for him. You cracked
well
him open.
Yeah.
Did he explode or did he wreck?
He wrecked.
Ah.
Yeah, but like, who cares? It was done.
Yeah.
My favorite was shooting them with railguns.
You guys, so we're gonna go into member berries right now. Do you guys remember when you could destroy weapons on vehicles?
Yep.
Yes.
Remember how cool that was?
Do you remember night fighting?
What's that?
Night fighting?
Oh yeah, night fighting.
Oh yeah,
you could only see like 12 inches.
That's the best thing about Tau, man. I had infrared.
Yeah.
That was OG Dawn of War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a Land Raider. I have a Word Bearer's Land Raider, which you guys have seen. We've posted it up on Instagram. I got, just like you were saying, at a certain point you got into Space Marines because you were tired of getting your ass kicked. I got tired of getting my ass kicked with my Dark Eldar and my Imperial Guard. So I started playing Word Bearers or Chaos Space Marines, and I decided Word Bearers. So I had this Land Raider. I was halfway across. This was like a weekend tournament that was narrative. It was a weekend campaign. It wasn't like a long drawn out campaign. So it was a relatively short. I think there was like 6 or 7 games and that was it. But it was a night fight mission. My Land Raider had gotten halfway across the field. It had lost both sponsons and it had its treads blown off and it was sitting.
Jesus.
So I had
it was immobilized.
I had a unit of 5 Chaos Terminators behind it, using it as like kind of moving cover. And then I had to move my Tech Priest from the other side of the fucking map.
Oh God! To go run and repair it.
To go try to repair it.
Oh, he longbowed that, dude. Oh my God!
Such a fucking nerve-wracking like 3 fucking rounds where I was like, because if I got the Land Raider back up, my chances of winning were much better. I can't remember if I won or not, but I remember the nail biting.
So essentially what Ryan is saying is when they shot his Land Raider, they penetrated his armor and they rolled on a table. And instead of to blow up a vehicle, you needed to roll a 6 on this table. They rolled a 3 twice and took off 2 sponson weapons. And then they rolled a 4 to immobilize it. Now that thing can still shoot. It can still move around. It can't move around. It can still, but it had weapon arcs.
Yeah, it had fixed arc. I could only fire forward. So on that, there's a pair of, I'm looking at it right now. There's a pair of heavy bolters and I haven't changed it. Like it is,
on the front.
that is the 3rd edition one that I've run. There's
do you have
2
a
heavy
combi
bolters
bolter
on the
it?
front.
Yeah, right. Get that full
I don't know.
360,
Hold on.
baby.
Well, yeah, you would run the combi bolter, so you would lose that weapon first.
Yeah. But the old weapon damage tables were so awesome. Hey, there it is.
So combat bolter, and then I've got the las cannon, and then I've got the heavy
bolter.
Heavy bolter, yeah.
Yeah, it
So the
was
heavy
twin linked
bolter.
heavy bolter.
The heavy bolter.
You get to
and
re-roll
the
your missed shots.
combat,
Reroll your miss. Yep, reroll.
Yeah,
not
that's
not
what-
not double shots.
No, that's what twin link used to mean. All of Tau weapons were twin linked.
Yeah,
And then my dumbass painted the in fucking side, which you can't see.
Yeah,
I did too.
talked about that.
I did too.
I glued mine. Screw that.
Good member berries. Thank you, listeners, for
There, the first Crusade I ever actually played was Hex, and this is back when I was running Tau, and it was like fairly early. Like Storm Surges hadn't come out yet.
yeah.
The biggest thing you had was a Riptide. And
Even
Riptide-
those were new.
yeah, that was brand new. The Riptide was like I had one,
Oh.
not four. And I was running a Riptide, and the whole thing about this Crusade was it was set up, and we played it at our local store, but it was a big group of us, and you know who they are. And one of the guys had made a map, and he made this map, and it's like a small map. Because have you ever played Rome Total War?
I've played a Total War game. Yeah.
Right. So you know how like you have that big map where it's like, here's my army. It's like a little dude with a flag.
Yeah.
And you would march him somewhere.
Yep.
And then that's what we did, was we had this huge map, which I think it was like China or somewhere from the air, right? And everything was in a grid, right? And so you would start your army. Basically, the whole thing was this is the planet. And you'd start your army on one of these grids. And the grids would have, one of them had like a warp gate, another one it was an ammo stash, another,
that's cool.
so each one of these, one of them was like a reinforcements beacon, so your army size could get bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that was the only way you could make your army bigger, was you had to like requisition it, right? You'd have to call in for reinforcements.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's how the hex worked.
yeah, your starting army was like, I think 400 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I had nothing. Right, I had some crisis, or I had some infantry, right, which were garbage, right? They were good at range, but like everybody else was like, chaos demons and shit like that. I was like,
Coming for that
yeah,
booty.
like, all right, I'm here, pew, 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 I'm dead. Like, so
That was
right.
Thanks for coming.
That was a good
So-
round.
right. So my whole thing was that I really was trying to prove to everyone that I'm not an idiot, right? Because, I'm in everyday life. I'm the big dumb idiot, like me pick up heavy things, me help you, and I was trying to prove the fact that like, oh no, like I play Tau, they're very tactically smart, so I fooled people that I was working with, right? There was like a Dark Eldar or a Dark Angel player, and there was a couple other players that I could like ally with, because I was allowed to ally with anyone.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
When people used to run Space Marines and Tau together.
Exactly, yeah, because Tau could ally with
Allies of Convenience, I
yes,
believe.
yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep,
and-
that's what it was.
That's
Yep.
exactly it. So I could do that. So I was like, and mind you, our whole army is a little tiny square, right? Our hex, and we're moving them around this table. There were 2 points coming up. There was one that was a warp gate, and then there was one that was like a requisition, so you could build a bigger army. And I was like, I need to get bigger, but I need to not fight. Because basically it was, if you moved into a slot, everybody got a turn. If someone else moved into that slot, you were fighting.
Oh, shit.
And then you'd go over to another table and you would fight. So I was like, okay. And I was like, hey, like Dark Angel player.
So is it almost like Chinese checkers?
So think of it as like an RTS game where you're like moving an army.
Yeah.
And then if somebody else moves an army into your zone, you have to fight.
Right.
And so that fight was over. That was a 40k game.
Right.
So we're all gathered around this board like a chessboard, and it goes in turns, and each turn you're doing stuff, collecting points, things like that. And then we'd all find out who we're fighting, and then we'd all go play that game for the night. The next time we'd come out, we'd go again.
That sounds fun.
It was dope. Like the only problem is, as a crusade, you needed everyone to be there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what sucked, was that not everybody could always be there. So we only got like a few of these in.
Mm.
But I made it to where I moved, and I was like, hey, if you go there, right? Because the rule was, if you got to a point that gave you something and nobody contested you for a whole turn, it was yours.
Oh.
It was free. So I told this dude, I was like, hey, look, you go for this thing, right? And I'll hold off. I'm not going to go over here because you should have that and I should have that. Like, I should have the ammo. You should have the warp.
Playing a little diplomatic
I was totally
warfare.
diplomatic, like totally. And he's like, yeah, all right, man. And I'm like, dope. So he goes there. He ends up fighting Imperial Knights. And I'm like, cool, man. While you're doing that, I'm actually going to pull back and I'm going to go take the ammo stash. So I basically fucked him, right? Because I was like, we'll both go and attack together because we could do that. And then our game, it would be like 1,000 points versus 500.
That's what you get, Dark Angels player.
Yeah. No, I straight up abandoned him. No, the best part was I completely abandoned him, got my requisition points. Yeah, got my requisition points, and he won. And I was like, oh, fuck. Right? So I'm like,
now he's going to come after you.
He's going to be so mad at me.
Next,
and I was like, bro, I knew you were going to win. like,
come on, man.
I'm like, come on, dude. You had that completely. And now you have a warp gate. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, dude, I had you that whole time. If you were really going to be in trouble, I would have come back. But I was getting bigger forces so I could help better. He's like, oh, okay. I was
he's like, I suck right now. Like, I wouldn't have been able to help you.
He's like, oh, okay. So then he left the warp gate. And I was like, cool, man. Let's go team up against this dude. He's like, all right. And then I did it again. And I fucking bailed on him. And he's like, fuck you, dude. I was like, hey, playing the game, bro. Like, I don't have the numbers, but I got the brain. It's like...
So
that was probably the fun because that was the thing, right? So that was the coolest part about this crusade, this game like this was I never fought a battle. I never fought a battle, but I had 2,000 points by the end.
When everybody was fighting each other for small resources.
Like 500, 800 points. I had 2,000 points.
Nobody wanted to fuck with you.
And nobody touched me at that point.
Nobody wanted to fight at the end.
Yeah, because I was, and literally that's what happened. I was like, every time I'd move into a sector, everybody would pull back. Yeah. And I was like, huh. And my buddy even commented afterwards. He's like, all right, so the winners, because we had to cancel because like we hadn't played in like months.
Yeah.
And he and I were talking and he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, you actually won. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And you never fucking played a game. And to me, that was the best, you know, like, because that I was like, I'm such a tactical genius, you know, well, because like that's the Tao way, baby.
That's the Tao way. Let everybody else fight themselves.
Exactly.
Isn't that like a Sun Tzu Art of War kind of thing? Like the best battle to fight is the one you don't.
You don't have to fight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was dope. That was like my favorite. I really want to bring that back again.
Yeah.
I'd like to do something like that.
That'd be dope.
Because you have, but like I said, the hardest part about it is getting everybody there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well,
just like D&D, man.
There's ways we actually talked about this last time. There's ways to design campaigns. So you want to when you set out to design a campaign, you want to set them up so that as long as some players show up, it can move forward. And a lot of the ways to do that sort of stuff is all of that hex movement happens not at the
digitally.
Event. Yeah,
digitally. And even though physically makes it so much cooler.
Yeah, well, that was the coolest part. All of us gathered around the table like we were on a battle table.
Exactly, yeah.
That's why
you have your little
going here.
Yeah.
You have your little crap stick, and you're just like, yes, advance.
Yeah, exactly. That was exact, and that was the thing was between each turn you were allowed 5 minutes. You had 5 minutes to plan your
make
move.
your decision.
Yeah, and so during that 5 minutes, I would engage in political negotiations.
Backdoor deals.
Yeah, it was. So, I literally one of them was like, "Dude, look, I'll buy you a burrito. All right, like."
I will fly resources straight to your men.
Dude, no, it was one of those things where, like, honestly, it's so funny because it was Warhammer 40k, but I was so
never rolled a dice.
Yeah, never rolled a dice. Yeah, I was so into the lore of being the tactician.
Is that almost how that game that you want to play works?
Diplomacy.
I'm trying to think of the game.
Diplomacy.
Yeah, no, is it Diplomacy?
Axis and Allies?
Axis and Allies.
Yes.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, it's literally exactly like that.
The Axis and Allies game that you have, is that hexes?
No, it's
territories.
It's square. Yeah, it's squares and territories.
But on a world map, like an Earth map.
It's a whole map. Yeah, the squares are the oceans. They have little sectors, and then the countries are.
Okay,
it's like Risk.
I'll have to take a look at it.
That's
cool.
It's like a much bigger version of Risk, like a much more zoomed in version of Risk.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's basically how that game runs is when it's your turn, you're placing units, you're moving them.
I like it.
You know, and this one was like that, but it was restricted because and that was the other thing too. We made it so that if you wanted to have like 2 armies of 500 points, you could. but you had to have the points.
Right. And where you can
that
split off two separate.
Correct. Yeah. Because that was my thing, was that I was like, okay, fine. I'll separate my army into 2 1000s. And they were like, no, because you're never far enough away from your other army. You're just going to bring them in and fuck us. And I was like, yes.
You are correct.
Yeah, because
100% what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Because my whole thing was, I'm not going to fight a battle I don't know that I can't, like, if I can win.
Exactly.
He's going to play recon and force.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm only going to fight a battle that I know I'm going to win,
This is Stratego and this is my 9. And it is going to go.
I got to say, Tom, that's awesome. I've never heard of somebody playing a campaign like that. Like, I win.
Yeah. No, that's dude.
Did you even roll dice?
Nope. Never, I never rolled a
What's the name of this game? I win.
Yeah. Well, and like, to be fair, it was also the stupidity of one of the dudes that I was playing with, who I basically was like, no, dude, I'm totally on your side. Actually, no, fuck you. And they said, no, dude, I did that on purpose, bro. Like, no, look, dude, I knew you had it. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I really kicked his ass. You kicked his ass so good.
So your dick is so big right now.
Yeah, you did so good. He ended up
right.
Yeah. He ended up having an Imperial Knight, right? And I still outnumbered him. It was so good, dude.
That's so awesome.
That was my favorite campaign of like all time, and I never played a game of 40k during it.
Well, let's make a more favorite one.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah,
that's the plan.
Sure. That is exactly where we're going.
So the last one that I want to bring up, this is more because I want to illustrate how you could run an escalation campaign and actually, or an escalation league, and actually have story and campaign elements brought into it. Actually goes along the lines of what Tom was just talking about. So I played in an escalation league, an escalation campaign, and every faction, every set of factions, so it was split into 3 sets of factions. There was the Xenos, there was the arch enemy, and then there was the Imperium, which is relatively common, and everybody had a goal. And the idea was, from the beginning of the escalation campaign, obviously, to the end of the escalation campaign, you're going to go from your 500-point army to your 2,000-point army. But the way that the designers had worked on it was there were 4 different missions that had been set up. There was a mission, or there were 4 different battlegrounds that had been set up, battle zones that had been set up. So there were battle zones or battlefields, deployments that were outside the walls of a city. Then there was inside the walls of the city. Then there was inside the general sector that was important. And then there was the very last one, which was to capture this admiral. So if you were an Imperial player, you were trying to get all the way into the city, past the unrest, and the unrest of being there's this giant civil war. And you want to capture this admiral because he has important information in his brain and get him off planet. You're essentially going in to protect him. If you're an arch enemy, you're trying to go and get him to corrupt him or whatever. And if you were Xenos, you were either going to eat him if you were Tyranids, or whatever your various nefarious purposes were.
Or Kroot.
So yeah, or Kroot.
Yep. Yeah.
So the goal was, or the restrictions were, until you had achieved an objective, you didn't escalate. So I was playing who the fuck was I playing? I was playing No, I wasn't playing Dark Elder at the time. I was playing Orcs at the time. And the first objective, the objective outside the wall, was there was basically a spot on the wall where you had to get to make it into the city. So obviously it was a little bit different for everybody. So I didn't have to win the game. And that's important when you're setting up escalations, or when you're setting up triggers like this for an escalation league, because you don't want it so that orcs just aren't doing good in meta, so the orc player is never going to win. You don't want to hinge the contingency of you have to win the battle. You want to hinge the contingency on achieving an objective. So for the orc player, for the Xenos players, you had to get up to the wall and basically hold an area for a turn. And that turn represented setting demolition charges. You had to blow the wall. So that's all I did. I used the majority of my 500 points to harass the Imperial player and just keep him away from his objective, which was to get to a door, essentially. And I just went up and I took my little 5-man unit and I went after that spot on the wall. I didn't win that game at all. I lost very badly, but I held the spot on that wall I played the objective. And at that point, this was like third, fourth. this was 4th, 5th edition. There was no objective play in the game. The
Yeah.
objective of the entire Escalation League was the Admiral. You had to get to the Admiral. And that I thought that was really clever. I don't have a lot of like amazing stories from that Escalation League. The way that the guy had worked in these, the way that the tournament organizer had worked in these objectives so that you could advance your escalation points was super unique and super cool. And it matches up with what Tom's talking about. We mentioned this last episode. Mix this stuff. Don't take one idea. Don't go, oh, I'm only going to do a map campaign. Do a map campaign with some escalation elements. Do a escalation campaign with some, narrative element. Whatever you want to do, just kind of play around and mess with the format to get a good overall flow.
Yeah,
So,
have a good time. The whole point of narrative campaigns and crusades is to enjoy the hobby in a different aspect than you normally do. Normally, when you're playing 40k, you're playing because I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, let's say you're playing Mortal Kombat, right? When you're playing online, you're playing to win. When you're playing, when you're playing the campaign, you're playing to progress, right? So
to fight Goro.
Exactly. You're eventually working your way to fight Goro. Or
well, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. There's no winner or loser in a Dungeons and Dragons game. The point of Dungeons and Dragons is the story,
The
that you're
adventure.
telling.
It's the story. It's not the destination. It's the journey.
It's the
yeah, that's true, man. There's a game that I used to play called Vandal Hearts, and it's kind of like XCOM. I don't know if you guys have ever played XCOM.
That style of gameplay.
But XCOM is like it's like a tactical shooter. Vandal Hearts was a tactical fantasy game. But you grow attached to the characters as you progress through the game, and you progress these people, right? And you're like, oh, this guy's so awesome. He's going to be a paladin. Like, he's badass. He's my favorite. Like, I can't let him die. I'm going to sacrifice this shitty person I don't really care about. So that way my person progresses and becomes a badass. And you kind of do the same thing in 40k, right? You have your hero, you have Billy that progresses and progresses, and you know what? I'm going to make sure Billy doesn't die. I really don't give a shit about my Basilisk or my heavy weapons team, but you know what? Billy's
hero.
Exactly. He will kick ass.
Dude, my Battlestar Galactica game that I play, I have ships that I've kept in the fleets since day one.
Oh, Jesus.
Because they allow you to like progress even through the expansions. I have a ship called the Kore that is a berserk carrier, and that bitch has been with me forever. I will not let anything happen to that.
She's the ride or die.
Dude, it is. I even started a fleet to protect that ship. Like, it's like veteran status, and I'm like, nothing happens to the Kore. Like,
that's awesome.
No, see that stuff's like really cool. That's why I'm excited about this campaign, because like haven't really done one forever.
Right.
Your whole story, I think, is sick.
Exactly.
I just think it's so sick. You took something everybody can be familiar with, twisted it a little bit, which I love the twist on it.
You haven't even read the lore I've been writing.
No, I haven't.
There's
read
a
the
lot.
lore,
Oh yeah,
like,
fucking
But like to me, for the whole campaign and the narrative part of it, like that is so cool, and that's why it's like I'm excited to play on both sides of it.
Exactly. Be a part of the story.
And that's what I'm so happy you're here for.
Yeah, because on both sides, because like we've talked about, like, you know, I have like that night that I have. So I don't know if you've seen it yet, Ryan, but like I posted it today.
Yeah,
so
the Dark Crystal night.
See it's in the chat, the regular chat. I
think.
Yeah. So I didn't plan on it looking like it's Skeksis, but I've brought it out in public, and everyone walks in and sees it and goes, "Is that supposed to be Skeksis?" And I'm like, "No, but that's what I'm running with now."
Awesome.
So that's why I got named the Hunter.
Yeah.
You posted it in Hobby Progress, or did you post it?
I think it might have been in the Jim Dark chat.
In the chat, yeah.
The general chat.
But like that part of the hobby to me is like really cool too. It's like things progress in a way you don't even plan on.
Yeah, no, dude, that's what I'm so excited about this campaign that we're gonna do. Is I've got lore written for my stuff, but I'm leaving basically. Can we talk about it, or are we not talking?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay,
so you can soft tease it, but we're
okay. So there are some characters.
So
Yeah,
it's like
there are
we're
some
pushing soft rope right now.
Yeah. And I'm very familiar with. There are some characters that I have. Yeah, right. There are some characters that I have for this campaign that we've said these are. If they die, they die. You know, like that's the whole thing. I'm like, if he dies she dies,
that's it.
They die. Like,
yeah, that's a part of the lore for them.
And I
gets packed up and sent to Iowa, and I hit it with the sledgehammer. No, I'm kidding.
No, absolutely fucking not. But that's the whole thing, right? So I have my lore that I'm writing and the lore that I've written, and this will become it.
This gets to add to it.
This is going to add to
that's
it. Maybe
awesome.
Maybe not exactly how it's going to pan out,
right?
But that's the timeline, what we're doing. These are all going to go into it. If we're doing this mission and this happens during this mission, you bet your ass that's getting written down.
That happens.
Yeah, and that's going to be what happens. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm also horrifically scared, you know, because it's like, holy crap, I hope it's badass. You know, I don't want to be like, he has tripped and broken his leg and shot himself. He's dead now.
Well, I mean, we did play the test run not too long ago, and that was actually cool because
wildly better than I thought it would.
All I kept thinking of was Helm's Deep when the wall blew.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Me being a huge Lord of the Rings fan, I was like, man, that wasn't a soft rope at that time.
that was full mast.
Yeah, it was full mast. Even though it happened to me, but I was like, oh my god, so
dude,
awesome.
I can't. Oh yeah, that was
the wall blew up and just
fucking
50% of the army gone.
And like my guys are like, what the fuck is happening back there? Like,
and the whole time,
my
captain was screaming at the guard.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty normal with Kevin.
Yeah,
that's pretty normal.
Screaming at the guard.
There's a reason he's rogue
one orc.
He's rogue traitor guard.
Yes.
He doesn't have to listen to anybody.
And that terrain too.
They're flashing their paper at Chuck the whole time, like, I don't gotta listen to you.
I still think that was so good. Like Ryan designed this wall for this game and built it and painted it and everything, and it's amazing. And the funniest thing was that I didn't know to do this until it happened. Like he has like one section that's blown out, and then he has like a gate on one. Oh no! We made the gate.
Bliss.
We bliss. We made the two walls, and we left a gap
before I finished the gates. Sorry.
Yeah, but so we left a gap that was like the gate, and
hot gates.
Yeah, the hot gates basically. And then we decided, or Mark decided that blowing this thing up is going to blow up the wall.
Well, I didn't tell anybody.
Right.
That was
so it happened,
but they had an idea,
and like it was like, oh, the wall explodes, and like
there's a big Promethean tank right next to that wall for a reason.
As soon as they showed up, and you're like, well, I can do this because I'm running it. I went.
Yeah. Well, so we took the broken part of the wall and replaced it.
Yeah, but the thing is that when I first deep struck in the back lines behind the guard and behind the Imperial Fist with my commandos to blow up this Promethean tank, I was like, my commandos are going to shoot the Promethean tank. And everyone's just like, what? I'm like, yeah, they're going to shoot at it.
Yeah.
And they shot at it.
And me actually being the player I am, I was like, no, this is not going to be good. I have some bad plans.
And I failed.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the Imperial Fists were like, I don't like what just happened. They need to go away.
It was
when that captain was pointing actually turned around
and
was like,
pointed at the commandos.
It was one of those moments I like to call, oh
no! And they killed those commandos.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
But except for one.
Except the Killacan commando.
Yeah. Oh, that's what
it was. The singular Killacan commando, the Bamf himself. And while the Imperial Guard chose to ignore him,
Bamf on his can yet?
Bamf on him. Bamf.
I'm gonna give him a grill.
Bamfacan.
Bamfacan. Oh
dude.
Shit.
There you go.
The Bamf can is back.
Well, and like the funniest thing too is like we removed the wall and replaced it with this big fucking broken one, right? So it literally looked like this explosion.
After Chuck took 30 mortal wounds.
Yeah. And like the funniest thing is like that whole game, I was like, I'm going to die first. Like, I'm going to be so dead and get off the table. And I'm like balls deep into the orc lines. And then this shit goes on. I was like, what is happening behind me?
Yeah.
Now, this was a test run for a campaign that we were doing. This was a narrative game, not so much a part of a campaign.
Yeah.
But we thought we should share the story because
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty hilarious.
It's getting it
And
filled
we are-
out of what can come.
We are currently finishing up the editing on that, so it should be live, so you guys can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
spoilers.
Such a good game.
Spoilers.
Yeah, big
Oh,
spoilers.
yeah,
Spoilers,
So I gotta tease, and I'm only bringing it up because I'm pretty sure, Tom, you don't know this yet, but I started developing more of the lore for the Warhounds of Karnas, and the hint, the linchpin of why all of this fell and why they're as powerful as they are is there was an Imperial admiral that fell to chaos. And he is not in name. I have not named him Captain Hook, but he is, for all intent and purpose, Captain Hook.
So
Half
no
his body
shit.
has been rebuilt.
No shit. This is kind of perfect, right? Because should I go into lore a little bit?
Yeah, we can share the lore.
So
Yeah.
this is perfect. This is fucking perfect. This is absolutely perfect. In fact, I'm loving where this is going. And this is completely natural, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's natural. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day,
All natural.
and
Talk to her's natural. Is that
yes,
what you're
I was
saying?
talking
Okay.
to her vagina, and which I normally do at night.
Yeah.
She's asleep. I'm just like, let me tell you something.
Don't you ever disrespect me.
I'm gonna pull back the curtain here a little bit.
You
my
going
God.
gotta say.
Let me tell you something here. Did you ever disrespect me from my friend? So we were talking, and I was developing some of the lore, right? So Prince or Baron Eric, right? Prince Ariel's husband, right? You know, Little Mermaid. Their planet is well known for their spacefaring pilots, their ships, their navy, right? Because Eric himself, even though he's
That's awesome.
yeah, so even though he's a baron, he cut his jib basically captaining, warships. So the whole thing is like they have a very powerful navy, right? So they govern all of their ships, right? Now, there is a man who leads one of their primary strike fighter squadrons named Pan.
Nice.
Peter leads the squadron Lost Boys, right, as their primary fighter escort.
Oh yeah.
So whenever there's combat, the reason why was whenever there's combat or transport, right, for the knights, when the knights are dropped onto the planets, that's Pan's squadron. That's Peter Pan's squadron. Those are the Lost Boys. Because what does Peter Pan do? He takes lost children, right? He teaches them how to fly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Peter Pan picks up the knights and is like, I'm gonna take you home.
Let's go, pretty boy.
And he
Nice.
drops them. So that's like the whole thing is Peter Pan actually lives on, the planet that Ariel and Eric are from, and basically Peter and Eric, his forces govern the whole armada. So if you're making a fucking hook,
I am making
that's
a hook.
dope. We gotta have a fucking Battlefleet Gothic.
So
Captain Jameson Pheromon, also known as the Scythe or the Flayed One.
Nice,
Yes.
nice, dude.
So the fact that I think about this all the time, like you,
Yep.
is good, and the fact that
It's good.
I have my Chaos Army that you've seen well, not everybody's seen it, but I took Warcry models are the ones I'm instituting as all my different heroes, all the different HQs and such. So the fact that one of them, I just kind of want to make the Horned King you're good with from Black Cauldron.
Black Cauldron.
It's
It's an oldie.
everybody's least favorite Disney movie.
It's an oldie.
Pretty cool.
Is it?
It's
I have to
a
take
it's
a look at
a it's a Blythe movie, isn't it?
It's the first failed Disney anime.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I was like 9.
I really like Black Cauldron.
I love Black Cauldron.
Yeah.
I might be getting the name wrong. I think it was Jeff Blythe. He's the guy, I'm pretty sure, who eventually left Disney and did like All Dogs Go to Heaven and Anastasia.
Oh my
a bunch
God.
of movies that people
My
think
heart.
are Disney.
I was gonna say, you
movies
better
that
not
are
say anything bad
Disney
about
movies.
No. Dude, I turned around with, I was just like,
All Dogs Go to Heaven.
yeah, I was like,
dude,
you better not.
My heart, bro. Charlie.
Dude,
Rest in
Dude.
peace, Charlie.
the way you said it though, I was like,
no.
you better not.
No, for sure. I really, no,
So-
Chuck,
so
honestly,
the fact for helping with the campaign and stuff that I start incorporating more
yeah.
Little something.
I want you to
more
have
evil things and characters starting to come in.
Yeah, I want you to
Yes.
have the fucking
I love
the
Skeksis.
horn, the fucking
Horn.
Fantasia dude. I
Oh,
want that to be your
Be'lakor,
dude.
that'd
Yeah,
be
I want
so
that
cool.
to be your dude.
Oh, so I need to make. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we-
You know the
And
big.
Be'lakor.
we-
Yeah, well, you know, well, I was
Yeah.
so here's the thing. I was going to buy that model specifically to do that.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking
Yeah,
about that.
so I mean, I'll buy it if you want to have your way with it and do whatever and run it for your thing. Like, I'm down. Like,
Chuck's like, I'm gonna rub
Right?
my
Right,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I was
rub
like,
my-
that's
other-
fine.
my soft
I'm gonna
rope.
paint it with my.
the other little tidbit that we kind of worked in, because I brought up my captain during
Dude,
Kevin's
Captain
lore.
Hook.
At the end of Kevin's lore, is Kevin was like, oh, he's got to be one of the rogue, like one of the sons of the rogue trader family. That's like, no one knows that he fell to chaos and he's just off doing his own thing. As
Oh, dude.
So we're-
Please tell
I'm
me you
starting
have a
to play with
first
stuff
name.
like that.
name. Please tell me you have a first name.
Shmee.
name.
Shmee. I'm trying.
Please.
I'm working on it. I'm working on everything right now. My biggest push at the moment is to get my Warhound done and finished as the first big piece of my Warhounds of Karnas.
Yes.
So that'll set everything. But yeah,
Guys.
so guys, that wraps up episode 2 of us of this little series, us talking about our favorite campaigns. We're interested to know about your favorite campaigns. We're interested to know whether or not there's anything in the Crusade or the campaign world that you feel that we've left out so far. You can reach out to us with comments or questions or short stories at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com and jimdarkgaming@gmail.com. Also, you can get in touch with us through our Discord. Another great way to interact with us. We're always looking for lore. We run side episodes called Tales from the Hive, where we cover listener lore and our own lore. And then we run a side series called Loris Obscurus, where we dive into the supernatural of the real world and then relate it back to creative writing elements in the Warhammer 40k world. So send us your ghost stories. Yeah. Send us your cryptid tales. Send us your lore.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the best ways to reach out to us is we're always on Discord, pretty much. I mean, like, 24/7. And one thing I've learned recently, which I think, I'm getting more and more into writing. If you guys have some, I know all of us, we want to, including myself, I'm just as guilty. We'll end up jumping on there and being like, here's my 30 million page document I want everybody just to read. What I have found works really well and gets the most is writing a brief intro about your lore and then going from there and being like, would you like to know more? And I think that's probably because I want to read that for other people. If you guys have something, I want to give me that intro, long ago in the Citrix Maledictum, give me something like that, because honestly, when I'm not writing my own and I'm laying in my bed at night, some of the times I'm looking through that because I'm looking to find that.
Yeah, 100%.
So I want to see that. I want to see a lot more of that because I also want to compare notes with you people that are writing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely don't know anybody at all who started an entire podcast because he wrote 39 pages of lore for a sector.
Yeah, who does
Yeah,
that?
no,
Warhammer.
fucking loser.
That's fucking
Who does that?
weird. Like, who would fucking do
Who
that?
does that?
Who does that? Who records 3 days in a row?
Right?
Madman, Your Honor.
If you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, you can do that by giving us a like, subscribe, or reviewing us wherever you get your podcast fix. We're pretty much everywhere, so there's a lot of channels to do that through. Another way, a way that you can help our company grow, a way that you can help the shows that we produce get a little bit better, the way that you can help us with our streams is through Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/underthehiveofmadness. There you can find some stuff that's already out, including video versions of these podcasts. So not only can you hear our lovely, lovely voices, but you can see our beautiful faces. You also get a little bit more of an unedited feel. So some of the stuff that we take out of the episode for timing or because we repeat ourselves 7 times. We also do a Patreon chunk at the beginning. So there's always also that little extra bit of content
on current events and stuff as we try to be timeless on our episodes.
Yeah.
Getting that little Patreon chunk where you want to maybe hear about the latest drops from James Woodshop and maybe a little bit of hobby progress.
Yeah.
things that we're doing in current events that you wouldn't normally hear during the podcast.
Yeah. Also, as part of Patreon, there are some other benefits that we've got going on there, including some artwork. So if you wanted to take some higher resolution PDFs of some of the artwork that we've made as far as logos and all of that and get them printed on something, you can get those high resolution PDFs there and take them to like 3D6 Wargaming to get objective markers or something like that printed out. Or, maybe you just want our logo really big on your wall and you have a friend that does printing. We got it for you. You just have to join our Patreon and check some stuff out. We're also working on a role-playing game in the Savage World setting, and a lot of those rules will be dropped through the Patreon primarily. Also, we work on some other stuff based on the episodes we produce. So basically all of that kind of like extra content is going to be available to patrons before it's available to anyone else. So we definitely recommend that you go check it out if you feel so inclined.
Yeah, do a little dibble dabble.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can get access to all that stuff through either our website or our link tree. As always, I put spellings and links in the show notes so you guys don't have to guess at a bunch of the stuff that I've listed out. Chuckerfly and Rogan have both joined us. Rogan Dogan have both joined us as part of our cast. So there'll be links to their stuff as well. And you'll start to see some of their miniatures and artwork start coming out.
A little round of
Hey,
applause
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course, man.
Right here.
Yeah, awesome guy. Happy to have you be a part of the crew, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I mean, he's all right. Don't give him too much of a big head.
Got enough of that at
It's a
home.
little jelly in there.
Whoa.
All in the jelly roll.
Yeah, right. Listen, I am the jelly donut. All right.
Ain't nobody gonna replace me, man.
Never disrespect.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got about 7 or 8 of these crates with my name on them. I've just stenciled Goblin on 7 or 8 of these crates, and they're loaded into the back of my truck. What's your haul look like, guys?
Oh, that's funny. I wrote my name on those same crates. So
I wrote my name on the truck, so
I don't know how you guys are getting back.
you guys are getting back.
I was too busy huffing the rest of the paint.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we need to get more crates into the back of the truck before we leave. Excellent.
More
excellent.
paint.
Yes.
And then your
More
own
and more
truck,
paint.
because I'm leaving with them.
Join us next time when we continue to bring the freedom and truth to everybody in the Innsmouth Hive through Vox Free Radio.
Is it really on the radio or just coming through our head?
The world may never know.
It's not helping me reset.
Is it like a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Is this? Am I just a figment of Ryan's imagination?
Until next time, we've been 665.66 UHM Chemrat Radio. Join us next week. Same ratty time, same ratty attitude.
Remember, don't you ever disrespect the Forum Emperor.
Listen,
I'm actually surprised we haven't done that yet.
listen. I will smack the shit out of a foreign emperor with a goddamn rolling pin if it takes my goddamn jelly donut.
Ain't nobody gonna take
Ain't
this
nobody, let me
donut.
tell you
All I
something.
know, if it's got 4 arms, it can grab more things on you.
Let me tell you something, Chuck. Don't you ever fucking disrespect me on this podcast.
All right, I heard that.
So normally here at 665.66 UHMR, we try to warn you about four-armed emperors, but what I'm hearing now is that don't ever touch Beast's jelly donut.
Don't ever touch my fucking jelly donut. I'm looking break your arms.
Or I'll let it all over me.
Mother.
Wow, I'm uncomfortable.
It puts the jelly on the skin, or it gets the.
Oh my God.
It glazes the jelly on the
The jelly on the skin.